Hey guys, it's Vanguard by Craft Vanguard Dr. Faust by his joy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get this one started. This time we are covering Acestus, so the original Lyrical Monasterio deck focusing on Kairi, specifically the new evolved Kairi, the grade 3 one that came out in DZ set 8, but this time in DZLM set 2, so aka the second Lyrical Monasterio booster, specifically made from the DZ series. Honestly, Kairi got some pretty decent support this set, and she got really good support when she got upgraded, so let's just see what we got for the Kairi line. First today we have our generator. It is our ride deck crest. You may have ride deck crest in your ride deck. Auto ride deck, when you ride, put this card to your crest zone. If you want second energy, charge 3. Continuous meta 10 energy, auto be grand ride phase, and charge 3. Then act once per turn, energy about 7, draw a card. On pretty solid, you get a free 3 energy every turn. If you want second, you get extra 3 on top of that. And once you have 7 more energy, you can blast 7 of it to draw. There is a card in this deck that does cost 4 energy, so most time you won't be using that energy blast 7 skill to draw, but on the rare occasions that you don't have access to that energy blast 4 card, you can feel free to blast 7 to draw. Moving on to our starter, we have Acestus Mion. Grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 6k base, auto rolled upon if you're second draw card. Standard starter and about to redraw if you go second. You can make her any starter you want. None of the ride line requires Mion. It's just nice to have Mion because she fits the theme of the deck, so one of them in the ride deck. As for our over trigger, we have Mysterious Twins Romeo and Rumia. Grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power, over trigger, member trigger in your deck. Revealed as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one means get plus +1 for the turn. If revealed it during a jet check, activate the addition fight, which is during this fight you get during your turn. All your rear guards get 10,000 power. That is a very powerful over trigger, especially considering the deck that Kairi is capable of. For the record, this is the more experimental version of Kairi. By experimental, I mean this is a deck that you play if you don't really understand Kairi well and you just want to like kind of dip your feet in without paying for too many expensive cards. So it's not necessarily budget, but it also like kind of classifies as budget because the full powered version of this deck, what I like to call Mermaid Beatdown, focuses on grade 2 and grade 3 spam and basically beats the crap out of your opponent with 48k columns on your first grade 3 turn while your opponent's at grade 2. This deck cannot do that because while it can imitate that board rush idea and get really good numbers, it doesn't hit as strong. Romeo and Rumia, both in that deck and this one, hits really well because it gives your rear guard columns plus 20k in total, and with a 5 attack multi-attack deck consistently, that's a pretty good attack number right there. But also it gives your vanguard column an extra 10k, putting even more pressure on your vanguard who possibly has triple drive as well. This is a very powerful over trigger to have in the deck. You could make this vulnerable to have consistent multi-attacking. You could make it Asphoria to add crit pressure, but I definitely recommend Romeo and Rumia because if you sack her offensively, oh, your opponent is in for one hell of a game, and I guarantee you that game is probably going to end immediately, considering the last time I played this deck, the game did end immediately the second I sacked this guy. I sacked him on the first grade 3 turn. And then we have our normal triggers, 3 fronts and snow skip Paldavi, grade 0 boost 50k shield, 4k base, continuous guard circle, every opponent's vanguard is grade 3 or greater, she gets 5,000 shield, so say 20k shield, she's a front trigger, so she has 10k to the front row. Very helpful because that extra shield value does help in case you're being really aggressive, because again, this deck does want to be very aggressive, but also being able to, add 10k to your front row is just nice to bully down your opponent. Then we total 8 crit for being Fluffy Lady Godleaf, grade 0 boost 50k shield, 5k base, makes any vanilla crit you want. She wants to make a Godleaf because she's a mermaid, so she fits the theme. And for Acestus Misa, grade 0 boost 50k shield, 5k power. Again, you can make this any vanilla crit you want. I chose to make it Misa because the deck only has like 3 soul blasters and it has like an inherent soul charger, so you don't really have to worry about soul too much in this deck, so you don't really have to run Edwidge. And then we have 4 heal and Acestus Konami, grade 0 boost 50k shield, 5k base, make this any vanilla you want. I chose to make it Konami because she fits the Acestus theme because she's an Acestus card. Moving on to our normal units, 3 copies of Blue-Haired Prodigy Recess, grade 1 boost 5k shield, 3k base, auto place on rear guard circle, choose one of your other units, they get 10,000 power for the turn. So placed at any point during the game, your unit gets 10,000 power. Unfortunately, she can't give it to herself, but Kairi, as I mentioned, has the ability to multi-attack, specifically by bouncing your rear guards back to your hand, then calling them back to your board right as she attacks. So being able to increase the power of either the vanguard that's currently attacking or the other thing that was called via Kairi's ability is really good, and being able to do it for free makes her an amazing grade 1. And because this is Lyrical Monasterio, the deck has more ways to bounce than just Kairi, to the point where you can bounce her back to your hand at the end of the turn, and that way reuse her during the start of your next turn to bully down your opponent with more numbers. Very solid grade 1 to have in the deck, good for overall offensive pressure, just solid 3 of. Then we have 4 copies of Conspicuous Anxiety Kadia, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 5k base, auto when placed on rear guard circle, every vanguard is Acestus in the card, she gets 10,000 power. So unlike Recess, who gives the 10k to someone else, Kadia gains the 10k to herself. However, like Recess though, she can end up pulling off this ability regardless of a grade your vanguard's at because you run the full Acestus line in this deck. So we have one grade 1 who's a constant 15k and probably 20k if you combine it with Kairi, and we have another grade 1 who is an 8k if you combine it with Kairi, but she gives someone else 10k. Both of them are very solid grade 1s to have in the deck, and the best part is because they do something very similar, once you have at least one of each, or at least one of them, you can afford to use the rest as discard fodder for ride deck / guard power / whatever you need. So very solid 4 of Kadia for me personally. Then we have 4 copies of Refined Sense Leafia. Great on boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto when discarded from your hand during your turn, you may put it to soul. There's your free soul charge right there. And then auto when placed on rearguard circle. If your vanguards are grade 3 or greater Kairi, she gets 5,000 power for the turn. So just by simply being placed, not even by a card ability. So you can just hard call her and she'll be at 13k base. Again, regardless of what grade either player's at, as long as you're at grade 3. But if she was placed by the ability of your vanguard of Kairi in the card name this turn, she also gets auto rearguard at the end of your turn, you may return her to your hand. So it's not a mandatory cost if you want to keep her on board because maybe your opponent gets benefits for the more open rearguard circles there is, then you can choose to keep her on board. But otherwise, you can bounce her back to your hand so your opponent can't kill her, call her back to the board next turn to board rush your opponent, or just have a consistent 5k guard power during your opponent's turn. On top of that, Kairi, again, already has the ability to bounce rear guards, and thanks to the next card we're going to go over, we have even more cards that can bounce rear guards. So you can have a full board at the end of your battle phase, and then at the end of your main phase, you could have almost nothing, or I think the way this deck works, you would have 1 rear guard left. Either way, Leafla, amazing grade 1. The ability to self-bounce herself is great. Being a 13k swinger is just by being placed while you're on grade 3 is awesome, and she's a free soul charge as well. Very great 4 of. Then we have 4 copies of, unfortunately, the most expensive card in this deck, Cooling Heart Eureka. Great on boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto rear guards per turn when your other unit in the same column as her is placed. If your opponent's vanguard's also grade 3 or greater, she gets 5,000 power for the turn. So once they hit grade 3, she's a 13k base every time something's placed either in front of her or behind her. And then auto rear guard at the battle that she boosted a rear guard specifically. Soul Blast 1, choose the boosted rear guard and bounce it back to your hand. So again, she's the only Soul Blaster in the deck outside of this one card who only Soul Blast while you're, doing the ride phase gimmick. So being able just to spend all your soul and Eureka being able to bounce rear guards back to your hand is great. That way you can again use Kairi's bounce ability to its full potential and reorganize your rear guard for in preparations of your opponent's turn and your next turn. But on the downside, Eureka is just expensive. That's really the only downside to her. But if you have the money for her, 100% put her in your deck because she helps the deck be really aggressive, but also maintain its defensive prowess as well. So solid 4 of. Then we have 4 copies of our PG and Diva Refreshing Calm Christine. Great on boost 0 so 6k base, continuous sentinel. You want to have 4 sentinels in deck and also come in guard circle. Choose one mutes. It cannot be hinted about. If hand streamer cards, choose a card from hand, discard it. Standard PG, nothing just pass by. Basically, what that means, if there's only more cards in your hand, place it on guard circle, you don't have to discard Greg, because that means super aggressive in the early game. Basically, spam the hell out of all your grade 1s, and then your opponent does eventually counterattack you. Throw it on Christine, give them the middle finger, you're good to go. Very solid PG to have in the deck. You can make this any of the Lyrical Monasterio PGs. They all have the exact same effect as Christine. I chose to make it Christine, though, because she came out in the original Lyrical Monasterio booster for the D series as a whole, and again, because Kairi was the first grade 3 released for Lyrical Monasterio, it just makes sense to have this be the first PG for the deck. And then we have our last grade 1 in the deck, one of them in the red deck, and on the main deck of Assessment Nanami. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto and place on the vanguard circle. You may choose a grade 1 less card from your drop zone, call it to rearguard circle as rest, and then auto and place on rearguard circle, she gets 2,000 power for the turn. So this is a 10k base if you ever place her on rearguard circle, that'll never happen. But most times, when you ride from grade 0 to grade 1, you want to discard your one of your many grade 1s that we have in the deck. There's a total of 7, 11, 15, 19 grade 1s. You discard one of your many 19 grade 1s, or triggers for that matter, because triggers do count towards this, for Nanami's ride, and then Nanami Superior calls those rear guards back to your field, which is pretty cool. And then you don't have to ever worry about, like, worst case scenario discarding a PG, because our grade 2 of the ride deck, along with a lot of other cards, has the ability to bounce rear guards back to your hand. So if you do have to call PG to board on the end of the world, because more likely than not you can bounce it back to your hand before your opponent can kill it. So one of Nanami in the ride deck, very solid grade 1 for just allowing your ride deck to basically turn into call a free rear guard. And then we move on to our grade 2s, starting off with 4 copies of What Color Is Your Wish Valspun. Grade 2 is a 5k shield, 10k base, auto discard from your hand during your ride phase, Soul Boss 1 bot deck card to draw a card, and then auto place on rearguard circle if your persona of this turn. CB1, choose one of your vanguards, and it contains vanguard. All your farmers get 5,000 power for the turn. So being able to, again, spend very few of your Soul Blasters on just a bot deck to draw is good, because it prevents you from decking out, but it also gets you an extra hand card to replace her, and basically making our ride deck free with a combination of Nanami and Valspun. But then also, if you play her during your persona ride turn, where you are already getting extra 10k to your front row via the persona ride, plus the 5k inherently off of Kairi, because your opponent would have to be a grade 3 for you to persona ride, you could also give your front row an additional 5k, and because that skill is given to your vanguard, not the front row rear guard specifically, that means that 5k will be applied even to your rear guards if they're called after the battle phase begins. All around, Valspun, very solid grade 2. She's really great for offensive pressure, but also really good just for early game consistency, so very solid 4 of. Again, her and Eureka are really the only 2 expensive cards in this deck, so if you have to cut them for whatever reason, just make them any rear guards that bounce and you're pretty much good to go. Then we have 4 copies of Resonance of Reflection Appeal. Grade 2 is a 5k shield, 10k base, auto replace on rearguard circle, choose a mermaid grade 3 from your ride deck and you may reveal it. If you reveal the card or your vanguard's already a grade 3 or greater mermaid, CB1, check the top 7, show up to 1 mermaid normie without sentinel, or up to 1 prisms, pearl, and twinkle powder, aka the grade 3 order that makes what I call beat down Kairi really good. It's a very cheap normal order. It's a grade 3 order. From among them, reveal perk to hand shuffle your deck. If you do not put a card to your hand, counter charge 1. So you either just shuffle your deck on place, or or you CB1 add pretty much specifically Kairi or any of your support cards back into your hand. Very solid grade 2 to have in the deck just for that alone. And then auto rear guard once per turn. When your other form of rear guards return to your hand by the ability of your grade 3 to get a Kairi in the card name, energy boss 4, stand all your rear guards and column as this unit. So being able to initiate 5 attacks on her own, just by like Kairi bouncing stuff, regardless of a grade the opponent's vanguard's at, is awesome. The only real downside to that is that she costs 4 energy to it, but because she's the only energy user in the deck, you don't really have to worry too much about it. I do have a better column restander in mind, and that would be Soaring Bubble Penelope that can replace Appeal. My issue with that one, however, and I run it in my Mermaid Beatdown deck, but I don't run it here, because A, when I do my deck profiles, I don't like running cards that you can't use the full ability of, because you don't get to experiment with them as much as possible, and Penelope you can't use the full ability of if you don't run the grade 4 Kairi, and 2, Penelope is really expensive. That's the other reason why Penelope is not here. Appeal is like the much cheaper version of Penelope, so take it as you will. Good column restander and good top 7 search, but if you want to throw in Penelope in this slot, you very much can. Some people run both, but personally, in my opinion, you either need one or the other. Then we have 4 copies of Light in the Sea Lanterna, grade 2 and 5k shield, 10k base, contains rear guard and guard circle. If your vanguard's a mermaid, she gets 5,000 shield. Then if your vanguard's a grade 3 guard, she gets 5,000 power during both players' turns. So she's a 10k shield just the entirety of the game, because if you're running the Acestus line like I am here, if you notice, all of them are mermaids, meaning she will always be a 10k shield, but once you hit grade 3, she's a 15k base as well. And then auto rear guard, when she attacks or boosts, choose a grade 3 card of Kairi's card in your ride deck, you may reveal it. If you reveal a card or your vanguard's already a grade 3 guard or Kairi, you may soul charge 1. So not a mandatory soul charge, so if you're afraid of decking out from this, you don't have to soul charge, but if you want to soul charge, that way you can spam your soul bashes such as Valspun and Eureka more, you're more than welcome to. All around very solid grade 2 for just defensive value, because again, she gets that 5k shield throughout the entirety of the game. A really good card offensively as well, because she can soul charge you whether she's attacking or boosting, again specifically helping out that Twinkle order booster, but also being an extra 5k power as well once you hit grade 3. So very solid card all around 4 of. Then our last grade 2 in the deck, one of them in the Radic and the main deck is Acestus Kiora, grade 2 and 5k shield, 10k base, auto vanguard. When she attacks anything, choose one of your rear guards and you may return to hand. Not a mandatory return if you don't want to, but again, worst case scenario off of Nanami, if you end up having to call PG as your discard fodder, just bounce Christine back into your hand, or any other card you like early game Rush Rift, because maybe you want to do Eureka with Kadia, because Kadia would be a 15k, so that's a 23k call into your opponent's grade 2 vanguard, and then you swing with Kiora, and then Kiora bounces Eureka back to your hand after Eureka already bounced Kadia. Very solid combo you can do there, and then continues rear guard during the battle. She get boosted, she gets 5,000 power, but there's no real way to call her out from this deck, so you don't really have to worry about that skill. Very solid grade 2 abilities overall for early rush during your grade 2 turn, so one of in the ride deck. And then our last card in the deck, 3 in the main deck, 1 in the ride deck, is Acestus Live Kairi, grade 3 to 9%, 13k base, contains Vanguard Circle. If your opponent's Vanguard's a grade 3 guard, all your rear guards placed this turn get 5,000 power, so being able to pump all your rear guards for an extra 5,000 power every single time they're placed is really good, because her second ability is Auto Vanguard. When this unit attacks, choose up to 2 of your rear guards, bounce them back to your hand. So for free, bounce 2 rear guards back to your hand. But then if you want to, you can CB1, call 2 rear guards, choose up to 2 cards from your hand, call it to open rear guard circles, and if your opponent's Vanguard's at grade 3 guard, she also gets a drive for the battles. So for the record, Apollo makes it easier for the deck to get 5 attacks, because with Kairi, you can just bounce a whole column back into your hand and then recall that column, and then Apollo can stand the other column. But this Kairi, instead, if you really want to, you can just bounce your 2 frontal rear guards, or you can still bounce a column, and then Yubika could just boost the other column and then bounce the frontal rear guard back to your hand, and then she can just still call to 2 open from a rear guard circle. So you can do that with the deck. But even if you don't call stuff, she still gains triple drive as long as your opponent's at grade 3 greater. So cool that she can bounce your rear guards back to hand for free just to add guard power, but then she can allow you to call into open rear guard circles as well to bullet down your opponent while getting drive checks, and even increase their power to just because your opponent's at grade 3 or greater. And then Auto Vanguard, at the end of your turn, choose up to 1 of your rear guards and bounce it back to your hand. However, if you Persona this turn, you can choose up to 2 instead of 1. So again, this is a really great way to reposition your rear guards, bouncing back at least 1 at the end of your turn, regardless if you Persona or not. But if you did Persona ride, you get 2. And again, you tend to combo this with other rear guards like Eureka, who can bounce it back to hand. Maybe Leaflet to leave yourself with going from 5 rear guards to 1 or even 0 rear guards all in one single turn. That way, bullying down your opponent with the max offensive pressure as possible, while also maintaining all of your rear guards in your hand as guard power for the following turn. Very solid grade to have overall. It's a really good balance of offense and defense, and I'm not complaining about her skill at all. Like, honestly, there's nothing more they could have done to make this card good without like completely breaking it. My only thing is that they really wanted to break it. They could have also gave her the skill, give your cards an extra 5,000 shield, and if they really wanted to, they could restrict it to the opponent being at grade 4. I don't think they should have done that. I'm completely happy with the skill. I'm just saying if they wanted to break this card, they very much could have done that. But either way, she's she's a very solid grade 3. She gives numbers to your rear guards by your opponent being at grade 3. She ends up giving you free rear guard balance and can initiate 5 multi-attack on her own for a simple CB, and that is it. Not to mention the fact that she can bounce your rear guards at the end of your turn. She's just a great grade 3 overall. So 3 over the main deck, 1 over the ride deck. It's a very solid upgrade over the other 2 Kairis. And without further ado, that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoy. Honestly, this deck is very fun to play. Kairi has been one of my favorite Lyrical Monasterio decks of all time just because of its old Bermuda Triangle gimmick where it likes to call rear guards, bounce them back, and then create combos with them. And I like how Kairi has taken more of a stance on trying to bounce it back at the end of the turn to protect your rear guards. Again, the Mermaid Beatdown version of the deck, you play a lot more grade 2s and grade 3s, so you don't play as many grade 1s. That way you can bully down your opponent with a lot bigger numbers, and you still get rear guard bounce. This deck, however, focuses more on the defensive aspect, trying to bounce your rear guards as much as possible at the end of the turn. That way you have more guard power going into the next turn. But again, you can build either version of the deck, but I like this version a lot. I like both versions a lot, but it just depends on how I want to play that day, if I want to play more aggressively or more defensively. Either way, though, I'm going to hear it. Hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and join Discord, follow Twitch. I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to set up your vanguards.